So, Joe, really, how did this all start?
Well, it started about 5 years ago, I guess. It had to be 5, 6 years ago, when I was commissioned to do the Crest Theater in Westwood. And the man who I did it for was Dick Cook, the president of Buena Vista Pictures at Disney. And at that time, he romanced the idea of leasing the old Paramount Theater in downtown Hollywood and doing it over into a real slick movie palace. And we were just starting the drawings for the Crest Theater at that time. So this was always a concept or an idea that was in the background. After I finished the Crest, and I had only had like 2 months rest, I get a phone call and from Dick Cook, and he says, I got the Paramount. Let's do it, you know. And so it was a real thrill, you know. And I went to his office, and he said, let's restore this theater. And I said, well, what about the stage and everything? Just restore that too? We'll do the whole thing. And it'll be just like a mini Radio City Music Hall. So I started on the designs, and I was intending to build a scale model of the theater, about half-inch scale in sections, so that they could see how the different rooms and different areas would look and all that. And about 2 weeks into the design work, I got a call from him, and he said that they had changed their minds, that they wanted to twin the theater. And this was because they were in a partnership with Pacific Theaters, and Pacific could not, in their minds, fathom having a theater with 1,200 seats that was not chopped up into 6 auditoriums. So they agreed to 2 auditoriums, to making the balcony into 1 theater and making the main floor into a 2nd theater. And Dick at that point says to me, I want you to make this new theater in the balcony look like it has always been there, so that it does not look like a curtain job, you know, and tacky, what have you. The noise that you hear behind me is Bruce Tunis, a world-famous scenic artist, and Bruce is Bruce is painting, and Belton is helping the mural here in the lobby of the El Capitan Theater. The mural is 105 feet long, and it's 10 feet high. It's a real epic, an Art Deco version of a Hindu garden at night. And it's purely for shock value and entertainment. It's all bright Crayola colors, and it's one of those things that when the public walks in for the first time and they see this, they're going to just say, oh, look at that.
How many different plans did you actually end up drawing before you finally settled on it?
There was this double plan, and it was kind of a quasi-restoration, but more of a theatrical extension of the Hindu idea. And then that was changed and modified, and the entire thing was redrawn and new models made to do the whole thing in Art Deco. Jeffrey Katzenberg, you know, was very pleased with the Crest Theater, and said that I had achieved the ultimate Disney-style movie theater. And so he wanted to see this theater all done in Art Deco. And so I did then build all new models and make new drawings for him. And once again, we're doing the same thing here, and even on a grander scale, because they have totally restored all this plaster work inside the auditorium that was hidden behind phony walls that created a very modern look.
Now, when was this theater actually built?
It opened in 1926, so you know there had to be 3 years of planning. Mm-hmm. It was built by Mr. Toberman, who was a developer here, a founding father of Hollywood, and he built the Grauman's Chinese across the street, and after he built this theater, and he also built an Art Deco tower on the corner of Hollywood and Highland, and that was an office building. since it was built for live stage, yes, it had, and the stage is about 45 feet deep and has a full fly loft and big complement of dressing rooms and what have you. The theater was also equipped with a projection booth and pipe organ chambers, just in case they were too far ahead of time as a live theater and it didn't pay off. They could always go to film. So that's the reason there's pipe organ chambers. And of course, there was no Grauman's Chinese across the street at this time.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So the Chinese was started in 29 and opened in 30.
Aha.
And much like the Pantages down the street, that opened in 30 or 31, I think.
Now, many people would know this theater actually as the Paramount, but it originally was the El Capitan.
Yeah, it opened as the El Capitan. And the interesting thing about this is that in 1941, the war had created this tremendous need of the public to go to movies. And theaters were staying open around the clock. And Hollywood was the great place to go for personal entertainment. You know, the stress of this idea of the war, everybody wanted to come to Hollywood and just have the Hollywood experience. Of course, everything was quite lovely and quite beautiful here at that time. And Fanchon and Marco, who were the stage producers that did all of the Fox West Coast Theater stage shows for years, were running the Paramount Theater in downtown Los Angeles, and that was a co-deal with Paramount Pictures. And Paramount Pictures wanted a first-run Paramount Theater on Hollywood Boulevard. In those days, movie theaters were considered set pieces. They were not considered real architecture, and there was no historical groups to demand that these things be saved. And they were strictly toys for whoever ran them to change them as they pleased. This theater lasted for 15 years, and then they decided to remodel it. Well, some of the big theaters, like the Fox West Coast in Long Beach, lasted for 8 years, and it was a glorious Italianate opera house looking interior, and they just totally ripped that out and put in a new Art Deco interior. Well, here they tore the opera boxes down and they put these walls in that hid the areas that they had ruined, and they widened the stage at that time. And they created they hung a fan over the orchestra area that would hide the big ornamented fan that was in the ceiling. Well, the chandeliers are built from my design, which I copied most of the elements from a photograph that showed this area and simplified them a little bit, but still kept most of the feeling. And these were built by the Ad Art Sign Company.
Oh, really?
The same people who did our marquee. So here is another mural, and this was done by Wim Griffith.
Well, that's kind of interesting. What is this mural here?
It is it's an Art Deco garden with the Coca-Cola boy serving Coca-Cola to two very happy theater goers.
Is that in tile?
It's a stage prop. It's masonite that's been painted and
to look like tile.
And it fools a lot of people.
Amazing.
So let's walk into the main auditorium. Okay.
That sounds like a good idea. So now comes the grand moment.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
This started out as a stage theater?
Yes, full stage. Had an orchestra pit too, and it's still there. It's just covered over right now.
Now this used to be
The old booth. It's all completely redone inside, and new bigger windows put in, and it's a spot booth. And then we're looking at the stage, and the scaffolding is up for the installation of the grand border.
Now here's those wonderful box seats that were
Eliminated, yeah. Well, they were torn off completely, and we have replicated from photographs what they looked like. So that's all new construction. This big fan arch over the stage here had holes punched in it, and
here?
Yeah, about 6 foot by 6 foot, and the organ grills had a few holes in them, and these posts on the side we're about half there, about half that much. So that's all been reconstructed, totally repainted. And there were chandeliers, and I designed them, and we were going to have the sign company build them for us, but the budget was cut so many times.
Shame.
Yeah, that the chandeliers are lost.
Now this is the actual area where the box seats were and have been removed and now are back.
Yes, and the floor is at several levels here. They want to use these as side stages. And we're going to, for the opening of the theater, we're going to have a stage show produced by Walt Disney's Entertainment Division.
Oh, really?
Yes, and then it'll be very small, but it'll be fun. And part of the show takes place up here in the box seat area. If you can see it through those work lights, a new projection booth that's been put on the main floor so that we'll get just a perfect picture on the screen with no keystoning whatsoever. These are brand new tassels that I designed and had made by West Coast Trim Company, who's been in business for like 75 years. Oh, wow. And did all the decorations and tassels and fringe for all the big movie houses in downtown Los Angeles. Oh, anyway, wow. These are going to go up on the side of the stage here. These are the tassels for the tiebacks. And then we have a second tassel, which is, it weighs a ton, and it's about 40, I'd say nearly 40 inches long.
That's a big tassel.
Yes, and that hangs up on the proscenium arch on both sides. There'll be 2, 4, 6, 8 of these. Wow. Big tassels. The thing is about these, there hasn't been a theater in 60 years that's had tassels that big put into them. So this is really going to be just a landmark experience for people when they come in and see all these things.